it's Monica from Life is Art and Scrap. It's almost Monday. Let's create. How is everybody doing this evening? Have you had a good weekend? We're getting ready for the week to start again. Are you ready for it? That's always the question. Are you ready for the week ahead? I was just getting my video set up on the side, making sure my sound was not going to be too loud. And, oh my goodness, look at this. We've got lots of space in the video today. And you know what that means? That means we're going to be creating a big layout. Something that we don't do all the time. And so that's exciting. We have been working our way through August looking at the featured collection, which is the Cozy Up collection. And it's gorgeous and fall themed and also book themed. And so we're going to be creating a layout with that today. We're also going to be using a stamp set from the catalog, the current July-August catalog. And it's called School Friends, and it's got this cute collection of school critters. We've got a penguin and an owl, an elephant, a lion, a giraffe, and a bear. It's got some fun little sentiments. Oh, the places you'll go, homework, learn, first day of school. There's a pencil and a ruler, some stars, an apple, lots of fun things. And we're actually going to be recreating this layout here from the top of the page that is showing you this particular stamp set, but we're going to be switching up the papers. We're going to be creating it a little bit differently because we want to bring in that Cozy Up collection. So let's get started. And I'm just going to set my example off to the side here. You're not going to be able to see it like we would if we were doing a single page layout because our paper is going to be taking up all the space. So I want to start today with a piece of white daisy cardstock for our card base. And we're also going to be using a piece of white daisy cardstock that has been cut smaller. And this has been cut to 10 by 10. And so before I get going with my card bases, I want to bring in my two pieces of 10 by 10, and we're going to do some splattering. So I'm also going to need my all-purpose mat just to protect my work surface. Just grab that. And let's start with the first piece. And for this, I want to do some splattering in sort of opposite corners, and I'm going to use my water brush and some pine ink. And pine is one of the coordinating cardstocks with the Cozy Up collection. Hey Mom, nice to see you're watching. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. So I've squeezed the lid of my ink pad, the pine colored ink pad, transferring some of that lovely pine ink to the lid. And then I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going to go ahead and get this nice and juicy. And let me see, what have I got? I'm going to grab my gel pen and I'm just going to add some splatters down here in the bottom corner, like so. The more you tip your water brush down, usually the larger the splatters. Also, it depends on how juicy it is. But it'll also make them a little more round. I find if you're at too big of an angle, they'll just be kind of spray and not so much round, if that makes sense. And so we're just going to add some splatter up there and splatter down here. And then we're going to switch and bring in our other piece of white daisy that has been cut to 10 by 10. We're going to do the exact same process. Going to grab some of that pine ink and just splatter up in this corner, like that. And down here in this corner, like so. Kind of go around the edge a little bit, like that. Okay, now we can clean ourselves up a bit. To clean off your water brush, all you do is give it a little squeeze, rub, rub, squeeze, rub, rub, until you get no color coming through, and then you're good to go. Let me also wipe this off because I've splattered it everywhere. That's the whole point of the mat. And then we'll clean the water, all the liquidy bit, out of our ink pad lid so that we don't transfer that back onto the ink pad. It's one thing you want to avoid is getting all that water in with your ink. Okay, I guess I can put the lid on this as well and set that aside. Okay, so now we can bring back in our card bases. We can move our all-purpose mat. When you store your all-purpose mat, you want to make sure that you roll it up. So we're just going to roll up our mat like that and store it that way so that you don't get any creases. I'll also add, oh, you can see I'm using a piece that I was working on something else and decided not to do what I was working on. So instead of wasting our paper, we flip it over and use the back side. I'm just going to adhere it down to my Versamark so that it doesn't shift. Grabbing a second piece of white daisy and just tacking that one down as well. There we go. It's always exciting when there's a 2-page layout going on. Who likes to scrapbook 2 pages at a time instead of always doing a single page layout? I tend to do singles because it's a little easier when we're on camera to do a single page layout. But doing double page layouts is always really fun. So what I want to do is bring in some strips of pattern paper. And the pattern paper that I've chosen for this layout is from the Cozy Up collection. It's the one that has all the lovely books and teacups and leaves and all that fun goodness on there. And this has been cut to a 4-inch strip, just like it is. Oops, just bumped my light there. Just like it is in the layout in the catalog, because we're recreating the layout from page 39. And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that on the outside edge of my page. Hopefully getting it straight. And there we go. Let's do the same on the other side. Now the fun thing is that as we start out here with this layout, we're kind of doing a mirror image. One side to the other. And but as we go along and get a little further, you will notice that it starts to become less of the same. And that's nice when you have 2 pages that you can have each of them look a bit the same and a bit different. So the next thing that we want to bring in is a strip of mocha cardstock. And this has been cut to 1 inch wide. And although we're kind of recreating the layout from page 39, we're using entirely different papers. Just for fun. Hey, Carol, nice to see you're watching. You're chasing the kids out the door. Awesome. Tell them Grandma's ready for crafting. Goodbye. And we're going to put that strip of mocha cardstock there. We're going to add one to the other side as well. Hey, Heather, nice to see you're watching. You like doubles overall, but have a bunch of 1-page ones to do. Yeah. And you know what? I think it's nice in our albums to have a mix, too. So, you know, we can change it up a little bit. Obviously, the first page in an album is going to end up being a single-page layout, and the last page. So, you know, there's a place for both of them. Now I have just a 1/4-inch strip of the Shortbread cardstock, and I have cut this on the darker side, the true color side. And I find for a 1/4-inch strip that the easiest thing for me to do is just to run a bead of liquid glue along my page and then adhere my strip to it. So we're going to do that. So we've gone 4 inches plus 1 inch plus 1/4 of an inch. So we're 5 1/4 inches across the page already. So we're filling them in good. And let's add some glue on this side as well. Stick down our shortbread. I don't know about you, but the names of our papers always make me want to eat something. Because what have we got so far here? We've got shortbread, we've got mocha, the base for this is honey butter. You know, it's just so many good things. Alrighty, there we go. And now we're going to start having a bit of a departure in a moment. But first, we're going to add on a piece of scarlet paper. And scarlet coordinates with this Cozy Up pattern paper. And this has been cut to 10 1/2 inches square. And I have gutted out the center. So I took a 5 1/2 inch square out of the center, just to reduce bulk and also to conserve some paper. So we can use it for a different project. So I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive on this scarlet cardstock. And because this is 10 1/2 inches, we can center it on our page by lining it up with, let me say, 10 1/2 be 3/4 of an inch in. Does that make sense? Yes, 3/4 of an inch in on all sides. There we go. So let's see if we can get that 3/4 of an inch in, 3/4 of an inch up, and try to keep it straight-ish. There we go. Lovely. Let's do the same on the other side. So we're still doing a bit of samey. So again, 10 1/2 inch square, gutted out 5 1/2 inches from the inside, sticking this down, and so now you're all wondering, when is it going to change? Where is the divergent part coming? It's coming, don't worry. Soon. One more step. There we go. Hey Ellie, nice to see you're watching. Heather says, sometimes I split the first and last pages from a double. That would be perfect. Then you know the theme has carried all the way through from the front to the back, right? All right, let's line this up. 3/4 of an inch in, 3/4 of an inch up. Straighten everything out. Lay it down. Nice. Okay, now we have our splattered pieces that we're going to add, and these are 10-inch square white daisy that we splattered with the pine. So we can go ahead and add those onto our layout. Here, let's stick one in the middle too for good measure. And these are going to center on that scarlet, which is why we were able to just go ahead and gut out the center of the scarlet paper. My fingers are not grabbing the backing paper. And there we go. Piercing tool to the rescue. Like that. And like that. And then we can go ahead, oops, piercing tool to the knot rescue. And center this. On here we'll have about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Just making sure we're as straight as we can. And one more for this side. It's nice to kind of mix it up. Everything was pretty clean and neat until this point, but we're just adding in that little bit of splattering. Just kind of adds a little bit more texture. Makes this white daisy a little bit different from the white daisy we used in the background. And there we go. And we will center this as well. Now, when you look at this, you might think, oh, that's kind of odd. You've done your splattering in the exact same spot on both sides. But most of the splattering on this corner is going to be hidden, so it's more just these 3 areas that will be showing. And so it doesn't bother me that they're in the same spot at all. Now, on this side, we're going to kind of start with the base part of that side. We're going to have some strips of paper, and these are all 1.5 by 10-inch strips, and I've got honey butter and honey butter, but they look like different colors, and that's because we've got the front side of honey butter and the back side of honey butter. And then I've also got the shortbread, but this time, this part here, we use the dark side of shortbread. Now we're using the back side, which is the lighter side. And on this one, I have gone ahead and stamped a repeated stamp all the way along the edge of the ruler from the School Friends stamp set. I've used this little ruler just to create a nice little edge, and I stamped that with the shortbread ink as well. So it's just tone on tone. These are 10 inches long so that they fit going across this white daisy here. And what else am I looking for? I want to do a little bit of addition to these. So this one, the lighter honey butter, I want to take my white gel pen and just add a stitched line along the one side here. So I'm just going to run down here with my gel pen, adding a stitched line, just like you would if you were drawing a little border. So we're kind of jazzing up these strips because they are just cardstock. And while cardstock is lovely and gorgeous, and I love these colors, you know what? Sometimes you want a little something else, a little texture, a little visual interest on a cardstock piece because there's no pattern added to it. So we've got a little bit of stamping on this one. We're adding some stitch lines on this one. If I bring it up here, hopefully you can see that. And then on this last one, we're actually going to do some random stamping. So let me just bring in a piece of scrap paper. If I can find a piece of scrap paper. Well, that's good enough. We're going to bring in our scrap paper, and you know what? I'll even bring in a different Versamark, just so we don't make a mess on our layout. And our scrap paper. And we're going to do our random stamping with some Paprika ink. Now, in the catalog, they did tone-on-tone stamping. And I believe they used nectarine paper with nectarine ink. But I am mixing it up, and I'm going to use Paprika on my honey butter. And I want to stamp one of the word stamps, which is learn, and make sure it's seasoned. And then we're going to do random stamping. So when we're random stamping, we're going to be stamping off the edge of our paper, just like that. We're going to mix up the placement for our word, like so. And you just need to kind of go random all over. Nice. Looking good. All the way down. Let's go that way. And that way. It's hard sometimes to be really random, isn't it? There we go. We get too used to where things are. Try to follow a pattern. And it's hard when you want to do it random. There we go. And a little bit more. Let's stick another one right in the center. One like that. One off the edge. Good. Okay. So then we can give this a wash off with our stamp chamois. I even got it wet before we started, so I wouldn't forget. And we're going to bring in some stars here as well. The little solid, tiny little star, we're going to use that with the same ink. And again, We're going to try and stamp randomly and off the edge to create a pattern on here, like so. Doesn't need to be everywhere, but we do want to get some of those little stars in there, like that. And off the edge. I keep snagging. There's some other stamp pads sitting up there. I keep snagging on it. There we go. Okay, awesome. Let's give that a wash off. Squeak, squeak. Squeaky clean. And what else? Nope, that's good for now. We will come back to this in a moment. But for now, that is great. Just set that aside. So now we can go ahead and layer these on here. Hey, Deborah, nice to see you're watching. Hey, Claire. And we're going to stick this down about 3/4 of an inch in from the edge, just like so. See if we can't get it straight going up the side. So that's our shortbread with our tone-on-tone stamping. Then we've also got this light side of the honey butter with the gel pen stitched edge. I like how you can just kind of use cardstock and add a little bit of something to it to jazz it up. And those two have both been jazzed on the edge, and this one has been jazzed all over with our random stamping. And we can just butt those all up together. Like so. Looking good. I like that sort of gradient that we've created. And then with our different textures added to it, I think that looks nice. And then I have some photos. And these photos are from when my guys were younger. And Joshua was in kindergarten. And Justin was in grade 1. So it's been a while. So I've got 4 photos to go on this page. And of course with their teachers as well. You always got to get the photos with the teachers, right? So we're going to use some Paprika cardstock for these. And I'm actually using the light side of the Paprika. Let me bring in a second piece to show you. So this is the dark side and this is the light side. So we're using the light side for these photo mats. The photos are 3x3. And so I've made my photo mats 3 1/4 square. We'll go ahead and stick those on there. Just like this. I did a lot of my adhesive ahead of time so that I didn't have to spend the time doing it while we were live. Now, looking at my photo placement, I always like to kind of explain this. I decided to put the teacher photos, one on either side, diagonal, kitty corner from each other, so that it kind of broke up everything. This photo with Joshua is with a friend of his from kindergarten, and so I thought that was kind of nice down at the bottom because it's got a bit more weight to it because it's 2 people together. And then this one of Justin up at the top, filling in the last spot. And he's kind of facing towards the center of the page. He's kind of got his eyes looking this way, off on this angle a little bit. These guys are looking this way, whereas these guys were straight on. So it made more sense to have them over on this side. So that's kind of where I got the placement idea from. Now these, did I measure where I needed to put these? I did not. And did I lose my ruler? I did. I made a little ruler. Let me see. There we go. I made a little ruler, like I've shown you guys over and over again, how to make these little rulers that match the layouts. So all you have to do is make a ruler and mark what the 12-inch mark is. Fold it in half for your 6-inch, half again for the 3 and 9, and then mark out in between. So that's how I've determined all the sizes for these. So now I'm just going to measure that we need to be about, let me see, we're going from the center here, about 2 3/4 inch in from the edge. Yeah, about that. So let's just kind of eyeball that here. Oops, I got myself crooked. So we're going to come 2 3/4. Let's try it this way, 2 3/4, and kind of get ourselves on there. And then we can even use our ruler to straighten up a bit. So let's just see here. I want those ones a little bit on there like that. And so these are 3 inches, so that's 6.5, which leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5, so that's 2.5, 2 3/4, yes, that's exactly what I wanted. Okay, so we're going to line up here at 2 3/4, and even if I line it up with my measurement right on the edge, then I can even measure 2 3/4 in from the edge and get ourselves all into position. But we're not exactly going 2 3/4 because there is a little bit of a gap in between. So we're doing more like 2 5/8, like that, so that we can leave our gap. And then we'll come in again, let me see, 1, 2 5/8, like so. Looks good. And then we can add on our other 2 based off of the first 2. Lovely. Yes, random stamping, Claire. Such a great technique, isn't it? Because you can create your own pattern papers. You can create your own backgrounds. So many wonderful things can be created with stamps. So much more reusable than, say, stickers. Definitely. And even more than pattern paper, because, you know, sometimes there's a limit to the number of pieces of pattern paper that you have available. But you can always stamp some more. And I put this piece on crooked, and I can see that it's crooked. So let's see if we can't straighten it up a bit. That's a little better. Or more crooked. One or the other. I'm working at a weird angle because I'm sitting over here. I'm working over here. So it's probably going to be crooked. Either way I slice it, it's going to be crooked. Okay, then we want to come over to this side and start adding in some pieces as well. And for our background on this piece, we are going to have some of the same yellows that we had on our first side. Just trying to grab them here. They're all in a pile. And we have the honey butter, both the light and the dark. And then we've also got the light side of the shortbread. Ooh, pardon me, I'm yawning. Why am I yawning? It's too early in the day for yawning. But we want to go ahead and do some dovetailing on these. So you can see this is where we're making a departure. We're going to snip in the center here. And then we're going to come from the corner to the top of this snip. And from this corner to the top of the snip. In hopefully a straight line. I got a little off there. Let's try that again. I went a little high on the other one. There we go. Evened it out. And then we're going to do the same thing with our 2 strips on the side, I suppose. I can't pick that up. It's so tiny. I'm just going to brush it off. So this first one is 3 inches by 9. And then these other 2 pieces are 2.5 by 8 1/4. Straightening everything up a little bit. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to snip in the bottom. And then we're going to come in from the side to the top of the snip. And the same for this side. And if we're worried about them not matching, because these 2 are the same size, we can, of course, line them one on top of the other and do our snip in the center, just like that. And then come in from the side to the top, and from this corner to the top. And there we go, and they should match. And I'm just going to swipe these off into the recycling. Okay. Now for these ones, I want to do a little bit of additional things to them, but only in a minute. First, we're going to decide how far from the edge we need to stick these down. So let's grab our little ruler. And our first piece is going to be 2 1/4. Yeah, about 2 1/4 in from the edge. Let me just double check the math. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. So 9, 10, 11, 12. We got 4 inches. Yeah, about 2 inches in from the edges. Of course, the smart money would be to line it up in the center. We're going to start with the center. We're going to be smart. Or at least we're going to think we're smart. We'll see how smart this is. So this is 3 inches wide, so we'll go 1.5 inches away from the center. So at the 4.5, and we'll line it up along our ruler, just like this. Very nice. And then we can tuck our other guys in on either side. So that was our light honey butter in the center. And then we're going to come in with the shortbread, the light side of the shortbread. And this is going to be a little bit lower down, like so. And then the dark side of our honey butter. And tuck that on this side, like so. Yay, Mom says it doesn't look crooked to her. Awesome. We'll just all tip our heads a little bit one way and nobody will notice the difference. And then I want to come in with another piece of white daisy. And this has been cut to 2.5 by 8 1/4. And I want to change it up again as well because we don't want to have everything samey. So let me just grab my extra Versamark here so I can do some work on it. And what I want to do on this one is I want to dovetail the bottom first. So again, we're going to come in, snip in the center, then go from the corner to the top of the snip. Do the same thing on the opposite side, from the corner to the top of the snip. And then I want to use my black pen and just add some more stitch lines. So we added white stitch lines to the other one, and now we're going to add some black stitch lines to this one, all the way around the edge. Adding a little bit of extra detail and a little extra texture. You could, of course, poke some holes and grab your needle and thread and do some hand stitching. But this, let me tell you, is oodles faster. And it works just lovely. So we're going to go all the way around, adding these nice stitch lines. Now I'm using a black gel pen. You could use a black journaling pen, whatever you like the look of. This is just what I have on hand. My attempt is to try and keep them even. They will never be even. You have to embrace the imperfection. If I was stitching it, it would definitely not be even. So I figure I can be a little gracious with myself on my hand, on my drawn stitches not being even as well. So there we go. Now you could also use a sewing machine. A lot of people do that. They'll have a sewing machine that's specifically for adding stitches to their artwork. I do not have that. I have 2 machines, but they are both occupied in the basement because my son uses them for his sewing. And so now here, we're going to do some stamping using another stamp from the School Friends stamp set. And that is this sentiment that says, "Oh, the places you'll go." And if you are familiar with Dr. Seuss, you will know that that is very cool. And a lot of teachers use that book for lots of different things. Julia's grade 5 teacher gave all of the graduating class a copy of that book. So we're just going to go ahead and stamp this right here. Now I'm doing this stamping before I put it on my layout. You could wait and stamp it after the fact, but you run the risk of, if it doesn't work out, you'll have to kind of deconstruct your layout and fix it. So I decided to go ahead and do it ahead of time, and hopefully I have put it in the correct place. So again, that was with the Paprika ink. Oh, the places you'll go. And we can go ahead and layer this on the page. And this is going to go directly on that lighter honey butter section in the center. Just take the backing off. Lift. We need a lift. There we go. And it's going to just kind of center onto this one. And I'm paying a little bit more attention to the bottom than I am to the top when I'm doing this, like so. And then we're going to bring in the photo for this side. And I have this fun photo of both boys, you know, pretend you like each other, put your arm around each other, you know how moms do. And so we're going to go ahead and add this on here, like so. And this is a 4x6 photo. So we have a 4 1/4 by 6.5 inch photo mat for this. And I'm going to also add some foam tape to the back. Let me grab my other pair of scissors here. And we're just going to go ahead and add some foam tape to the back to kind of pop up this photo. It is sort of the highlighted photo. It's going to just be centered on this page all by itself, away from the other ones. So it kind of gets the special treatment. If you feel like you need a little bit of foam in the center to keep it from squishing, you can do that as well, although it doesn't matter that much. Now, for now, I'm just going to set this here because I've got a couple pieces that I'm bringing in that I want to make sure I get them in the right spot. So I also have a piece of mocha cardstock, and I have cut this to 3 inches by 5.5, or 5.5 by 3, I should say. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a hand-drawn border on this, and using my white gel pen so that it'll stand out. And I'm just going to do a quick whoop around the edge. And I went too fast. This is what I always warn about with gel pens. Gel pens take longer to run through the ball bearing than a regular ink. So you actually have to modify how quickly you draw. You can't go as quick as you would with a regular ballpoint writing pen because it's gel ink as opposed to liquidy ink. So just take your time and go around. And you want to keep your hand firm and just move with your elbow and your shoulder to create that line. So there we go. We've created that on the mocha cardstock. And oh, look at that. I already got the bits on there. What I want to do is I want to kind of make a little bit of a background here, just like they have in the catalog. And we've also got a piece of the Shortbread cardstock, and this is 5 inches by 4 inches, and this is the true color side, the darker side, and that's going to be tucked in under here like that. So just getting an idea of where those are going to go. So let's add our mocha first. And we want a little bit of space there, but kind of right up underneath where that sentiment is. like that. And I'll just lay that there so that we can get an idea of where this is going to go. We want this one kind of centered. And then we can stick, did I take the backing off? I did. So, right about there, like that. And then we can add our photo. Take the backing off. All of our foam tapes. Who likes to scrap flat and who likes to put foam tape and dimension on their pages? I know there's different schools of thought about that, and everybody kind of has a individual preference on that, I think, which is wonderful. I'm going to actually scooch that a little bit over. It's going to be a little bit off center. Well, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll keep it in the center. I keep changing my mind. We'll see how it goes. There we go. Just add it on. And again, that has been matted on the Paprika cardstock as well. So we're carrying that color over from left to right and right to left. And then I also want to do a bit of stamping in the background on these ones. And I didn't do them ahead of time because I kind of needed to know where things were going to be placed. I have both the outline star and the solid little star. And we're going to use the Paprika for this and hopefully not transfer any ink in weird places. There's a song, I've got friends in low places, but you don't want to have ink in weird places. And then we can go ahead with the outline and add that on there as well. And then let's add some down here like that. Come in with the solid one and add a few stars. I kind of like carrying this color from side to side and over the 3 panels that we have going here. We're going to leave a little bit of space here for journaling on this layout. And then over here on this side, while we've got our ink out, let me just do and do, you know, all responsible like, we're going to come in with a couple of the other words. We've got first day of school. Now, technically, this was not the first day of school. I'm pretty sure this was actually the last day of school. But we're going to use the first day of school anyway, because, you know, that's just how we roll sometimes. And I'm going to need to move this closer to me so I can see what I'm doing and hopefully have it line up. So we've got our first day of school. Nice. You got to be careful sometimes because here we are at the very end of our layout. Adding stamping, you know, it can always be a little bit tense. And then from our last little bit of stamping, we've got the one that says homework. And we're actually going to do with that with some heat embossing. So let's grab that. Let's grab some scrap paper. This one's already been stamped on before. We've got a Versamark ink. I've got a piece of the mocha cardstock that I've cut 1.5 inches wide and just a little bit more than 1.5 inches tall. I'm going to use my anti-static pouch to get that all ready for stamping. And I should actually use the back side of this because we've got all sorts of lumps and bumps going on underneath. We're going to have better luck if we use the foamy side. And I also have the white embossing powder for this. And we can go ahead and stamp. We've got homework, but then we've also got the little pencil on there, which I think is super fun. We're going to leave some space at the bottom for doing a dovetail. And just go ahead and stamp that on there. Adding our embossing powder. And that anti-static pouch helps take away the static from the paper so that hopefully our embossing powder will only stick where we want it to stick. Then we can use our scrap paper as a funnel to put all that extra embossing powder back in, like so. And then we can use our heat tool. Oops, 1 second. My heat tool is plugged in, but it got underneath something. This cord got underneath something. Then we can go ahead and heat this up. Now, if I was being nice and smart, I would be using tweezers to hold this. So let's grab the tweezers so we don't get our fingers too warm while we're working. And I lift it up off my work surface so that the heat from the heat tool doesn't affect it. It allows the hot air to swirl around the paper, and you can see it start to change from dull to shiny, and then you know it has done its job. Just like that. Now we can move our Versamat out of the way. You can never have too many Versamats, right? At least that's what I tell myself when I know that I have 4 or 5 of them, maybe 6 of them. We're going to do another dovetail. So we're going to snip it in the center and then come in from the corner to the top of the snip. The same on the other side, from the corner to the top of the snip. And this little detail is going to get tucked down here underneath the edge of this photo mat, just like that. And I'm going to bring in a companion for it, this cute little Shortbread, which has also been cut to 1 inch wide and just slightly longer than 1 inch. And we might as well dovetail it as well, like so. And we're going to draw on it too, because we've been adding all those lovely details to everything. So let's go ahead and just do a drawn border all the way around with our white gel pen. We don't need to do the top because the top is going to be tucked under the edge of our photo mat. Let's grab some adhesive and stick. And then a little bit under here, stick. Alrighty. Now I just need to line these up where I think they should go. We're going to come in a little bit from the edge, and this one wants to go right about there. And you know, I have a tool for lifting and all that jazz, but I always forget to get it out. So let's tuck this under here. I think that white heat embossing goes nice with the details that we've added with the white gel pen, and just kind of overlap those two a smidge and tuck it right up under there like that. So we've got our homework. And then the fun part from this School Friends stamp set is the little critters on here. We've got an owl and a bear and a penguin, a lion, an elephant, and a giraffe. And we are going to use all of them except for the lion on this particular layout. I keep grabbing my Versamat and chucking it away. So I stamped these up with the intense black ink. And then I was using my watercolor pencils to add some color to them. So I have the older set of watercolor pencils. And so I used some browns, some greens, some blue, some gray, some sort of reddish brown, and I'm going to use some black here now because we're going to do the little penguin. But I wanted to just show you, when you go to color with a pencil or a watercolor pencil, the first thing you want to do is just do a little bit of coloring off on the side to get yourself a nice flat edge on your pencil, so that when you come in to do your coloring, you don't get any little scratchy lines, because quite often that's what can happen. You can get a little scratchy line and then you're unhappy with the coloring. And if you want to make it more shaded, you just go over it a little bit more, and that will add more pigment. It's always easier to start out lighter and get darker. So we're pretty easy with this little penguin guy, because he's just a little bit of black adding it on there. Now I'm using a watercolor pencil, so I could come in with a water brush and activate this. But for this particular project, I just want to leave it as is. I'm going to come in with the reddish brown, make sure I have a flat spot, and I'm just going to lightly color in the book that he's holding. Like so. Give it a little bit of color. And if you're a kind of person who likes coloring, this will appeal to you for sure. Let's add a little bit of extra color just for a bit of shading around here and there. And let's add a really light amount on his feet. We didn't really pull an orange crayon out or anything, and I don't know. Not really sure. Penguins, they probably have black feet. But we're going to give them a little lightish red feet. But then, of course, we get to do our most favorite thing ever now. We get to fussy cut this little guy. So we're just going to pivot our paper as we work our way around, leaving a little bit of halo of the white, just like you would see if we die cut him. And just go all the way around. I already fussy cut and colored the other ones ahead of time, so that you didn't have to see the whole process over and over again. Just one. But you knew there had to be at least one fussy cut item. Alrighty. So there we go, all the way around. Fussy cutting our little penguin. And so now our little guys can get spread out. A couple of them, I have added foam tape to them, so that they can pop up and create a little bit of dimension. So we're going to have these two guys over here, and these two guys over here, and then our little elephant will be kind of hanging around up there. So I've got a little bit of foam tape on the elephant, just because, you know, he's a nice little decorative element on there. And we're just going to kind of tuck him halfway on. I did him with a little bit of gray, a light little bit of that red, and then some of it also on his backpack. And then our little giraffe down here, we colored him with a lightish red-brown and gave him a green backpack. And we've popped him up with a little bit of foam tape. Just going to tuck him in there like that. And then the bird we did in a darker brown, our owl. And then the books are red and green and blue, just for some added color. And we'll just kind of tuck him in behind the giraffe. He and his buddy are waiting in line. And then we've got the bear over here, and I did him in the darker brown, a little bit of blue for his backpack, and a little bit of green for what he's carrying in his hand. Looks like a little folder or something. And we're going to tuck him right in here like this, beside the places you'll go. Then the penguin that we just colored and fussy cut. We're not going to pop him up with foam. We're going to do the same thing like we did with the owl. And just kind of tuck him in here beside his friend. Waiting for school to start, waiting for the bus, all those fun things. We've got a spot for our journaling here. And then we need to add a little bit of embellishment again. And it looks like there were some little hearts and some clear sparkles, which I forgot to pull out of my bin of goodies. So I'll bring this in here. There's some clear sparkles. Let me see, what color hearts? If I have any hearts that would look good with this. I do have, where did I put them? The Cozy Up dots. Where are the Cozy Up dots? Because those would definitely work. I'm going to grab the red ones just in case. But I had them. I had the dots What did I do? Oh, there they are, sitting right there. Let's pull out the Cozy Up dots. Oh yes, we've got some lovely things. We can use some nice little stars or some hearts. I think we will use some stars, and maybe we'll use some of these darker ones. So let's add a big star right here and a little star. Now on the example they used hearts, but we're going to use stars because that'll kind of mix in with the stars that we've already stamped. And then we'll come over here to the other side and we'll add a large star here and then a medium little star here and a little star. And I realize we missed some stamping. Let me just scooch these out of the way. We missed something. On this side, we were supposed to stamp 2 of our little hearts. Let's just grab those things and do them now. We're going to add the little solid heart right there. And then the little outline heart right beside it. Oh, I don't want to miss those. Just checking around for more. I think we're good now. Let's give these a wash off. Just a quick wash. And then for our clear sparkles, right here, they used their markers to create these with a little bit of color. So let's go ahead and do that as well. And they made them a little bit darker. Maybe we will use our dark red, the darkest of the dark red tri-blend marker. How many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5. 5. So let's go ahead and we're going to just color with our marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and usually you let these sit for a minute or 2, but I'm going to go ahead and stick them on. And I'm going to use my piercing tool to help me lift them. So we're just going to add 1 right there. 1, oops. And I like using the piercing tool because I can direct where I'm going with it. 2, and then 3, we'll add 1 up there. And then we'll add 1 right here by our elephant. And 1 up a little higher, kind of along with our rulers up there. And I think that is all the embellishments that we need. So we have gone ahead, and as you can see, we have recreated this layout from page 39 using the same stamped images, but we have mixed up our pattern papers and cardstocks to use different colors. We've changed the ink colors and just recreated it to suit our photos. Now you will notice that I used my photos in grayscale or black and white, and that was because the different colors that they were wearing were not going to really suit the papers. Joshua was wearing a very neon shirt. It had a Fiesta logo on it from kids camp, and Justin had a different kind of blue on there that wasn't going to go. So you can just take your photos, turn them into black and whites, and then use them. And now if we take these and flip them over, we can use our rub and remove eraser to take off that little bit of adhesive that we used on the back to keep them from shifting around on us. And there we go. And you can see my stenciling that I was playing with earlier. And there we go. So that's our completed layout. We started with our white daisy cardstock, adding on the pattern paper from the Cozy Up collection, some coordinating cardstocks, using front and back sides to get different color variations. We added splattering with the pine ink, adding in some gel stitch lines and drawn lines, some stamp texture as well, some random stamping, as well as some sentiment stamping, and then of course the cute little guys from that School Friends stamp set, a little bit of heat embossing, some embellishments, so many little touches that come together to make a really fun layout. So don't be afraid when you're looking at those layouts in the catalog to just mix them up and use whatever papers and photos and embellishments you want to create the layout that you're looking for. I hope you guys loved seeing this come together, and if you create this layout, be sure to take a photo of it and pop it in the comments when I post the pictures, because I would love to see what you create with this pattern. All right, have a wonderful evening and a great week ahead, and we will see you again soon. Toodaloo!